Jace Orion stared at the sensor display and considered several possible responses. None of them were particularly encouraging. 87 warships filled the screen. Destroyers, cruisers, interceptors. An entire fleet advancing through deep space toward one aging freighter that barely qualified as legal transportation. Tell me those are friendly. Nova processed the request. I am unable to lie. Worth a shot. Beside him, Seraphine remained silent. Her eyes never left the display. The image of Prince Valen still lingered in her mind. Jace could see it on her face. Fear. Not fear for herself. Fear for what Valen was capable of. You know him well? Jace asked. Seraphine nodded slowly. Unfortunately. How bad are we talking? She hesitated. Valen is intelligent, patient, ambitious. Those all sound manageable. Seraphine finally looked at him. And he has never accepted failure, Jace frowned. Ah, exactly. Nova interrupted. The fleet is accelerating. Jace immediately dropped into the pilot's chair. Now we're getting to the important part. Estimated interception time, 11 minutes. Definitely important. The Vagabond's engines roared to life. Stars stretched across the viewport as Jace pushed the ship forward. Behind them, 87 warships continued closing the distance. Somewhere among them sat a prince willing to move an entire fleet to capture a single woman. Jace didn't like what that implied. Options? He asked. Nova displayed a map of nearby space. There weren't many. Most routes led toward heavily monitored trade lanes. Others passed through Imperial territory. Every logical path ended with them being captured. Then Jace noticed something. A region of space highlighted in red. He smiled immediately. Seraphine saw the expression and frowned. Why are you smiling? Because I found a terrible idea. Again? It's kind of my thing. Nova zoomed in on the sector. The designation appeared across the display. The Ghost Expanse. Seraphine immediately shook her head. Absolutely not. Jace looked surprised. You've heard of it? Everyone has heard of it. The Ghost Expanse occupied a region of space avoided by almost every pilot in the galaxy. Strange gravitational anomalies distorted navigation systems. Ships disappeared there regularly. Communications rarely functioned correctly. Some claimed entire fleets had vanished within the expanse and never returned. Most people considered the stories exaggerations. The casualty reports suggested otherwise. Nobody will follow us in there, Jace said. They might not have to, Seraphine replied. The expanse could kill us first. Jace shrugged. 50-50. Those are terrible odds. Better than 87 warships. Nova paused. Statistically, he is correct. Seraphine looked genuinely annoyed that the AI agreed with him. 10 minutes later, the Ghost Expanse filled the viewport. Dark clouds of cosmic dust stretched across millions of kilometers. Strange blue lightning flickered within the darkness. Even from a distance, the region felt wrong somehow. Unnatural. Jace grinned. Beautiful. Concerning. Also beautiful. Without hesitation, he guided the Vagabond directly into the storm. The stars vanished instantly. Darkness swallowed the ship. Sensor readings became erratic. Navigation systems flickered. Strange distortions rippled through the surrounding space. Well, Jace said, this seems fine. Nova responded immediately. It is not fine. The ship lurched violently. Every light aboard flickered. Seraphine grabbed the nearest support rail. What was that? Unknown. The answer wasn't reassuring. Nothing about the expanse was reassuring. For the next several hours, they navigated through shifting gravitational currents and bizarre energy storms. More than once, Jace wondered if they were still moving in the correct direction. More than once, Nova informed him she wasn't entirely certain either. Eventually, the darkness began to thin. Normal stars slowly reappeared beyond the storm. Jace exhaled. "See? Perfectly safe." Before anyone could respond, alarms erupted. "Contact detected," Nova announced. Jace frowned. "The fleet? Negative." A massive object appeared on sensors, then another, then dozens more. Ancient structures drifted through the darkness ahead. Gigantic, silent, impossible. Seraphine stared at the display. "What are those?" Nova analyzed the readings. Several seconds passed. Then the AI delivered an answer none of them expected. "Age estimate, approximately 60,000 years?" Silence filled the cockpit. Jace blinked. 60,000. Confirmed. The structures slowly emerged from the darkness. Ancient stations, vast rings, abandoned towers floating through space, an entire city drifting between the stars, forgotten, hidden, lost to history. Seraphine stepped closer to the viewport. Her voice became barely a whisper. No one knew this existed. Jace nodded slowly. "Yeah." Nova highlighted one of the structures. A symbol glowed faintly across its surface. Ancient, unfamiliar, yet strangely similar to the markings on Seraphine's star map. All three noticed it immediately. Seraphine looked toward Jace. Jace looked toward the symbol. Neither needed to say what they were thinking. The Crown of Solara wasn't just a legend anymore, and whatever secrets it contained had been waiting here for a very long time. For several moments, nobody spoke. The abandoned city drifted silently beyond the viewport like the remains of a forgotten civilization. Massive rings rotated slowly around a dark central structure. Towers stretched for kilometers into the void. Ancient docking platforms hung suspended between shattered bridges and broken spires. Whatever this place had once been, it had been built on a scale that made modern cities seem insignificant. Jace stared at the display. "Tell me someone knows about this." Nova processed the sensor data. No records exist within any known navigation database. Fantastic. Seraphine stepped closer to the viewport. The glowing symbol on the nearest structure matched markings carved into the metallic cylinder her mother had left her. Not identical. Similar. Similar enough to make her pulse quicken. "The map led us here." Jace nodded. "Looks that way." "Then this isn't a coincidence." "No." He glanced at the endless ruins. "Definitely not." Nova highlighted one of the larger structures. "Power readings detected." Jace blinked. "Power?" "Confirmed. Extremely weak, but active." Seraphine frowned. "After 60,000 years?" "The energy signature appears artificial." Jace smiled. "I hate mysteries." Seraphine looked at him. "No, you don't." "Fair." The vagabond drifted toward the city. As they approached, more details became visible. Strange geometric patterns covered the walls of the structures. Massive circular gateways connected different sections of the ruins. Crystalline materials reflected distant starlight in shifting colors. The architecture looked unlike anything either of them had ever seen. It wasn't human. It wasn't Aurelian. It wasn't anything recognized by known history. "Any signs of life?" Jace asked. Nova paused. "No biological signatures detected." "Good." "There are, however, multiple unidentified energy readings." Jace sighed. "Of course there are." They guided the vagabond toward an intact docking platform. The landing procedure was surprisingly smooth, almost too smooth. As the ship settled onto the ancient platform, Jace felt a strange sensation in the pit of his stomach. The entire place felt like it was watching them, not alive, Not exactly, but aware somehow. Please tell me I'm imagining things. Seraphine looked around. Actually, I was thinking the same thing. Jace grabbed his blaster. That's encouraging. Nova's voice echoed through the ship. I strongly advise caution. When have I ever ignored your advice? There was a brief pause. Would you like the complete list or a summarized version? Jace shook his head. Never mind. A short time later, they stepped onto the station. The ancient platform stretched into darkness. Emergency lights from the Vagabond illuminated only a small portion of the enormous structure. Beyond that waited shadows. Endless shadows. Milo remained aboard the ship under Nova's supervision. Jace had argued briefly about leaving him behind. Nova had immediately volunteered to keep watch. Jace suspected the AI was more protective of the child than she admitted. Stay close, Jace said. Seraphine nodded. Together they moved deeper into the station. Their footsteps echoed through massive corridors lined with strange symbols. Some of the markings glowed faintly as they passed. Others remained dark. The deeper they traveled, the more intact everything became. It was as though the outer sections of the city had suffered damage while the core remained untouched. Eventually, they entered a vast chamber. Jace stopped immediately. Okay. Seraphine stared upward. Wow. The room was enormous, thousands of meters across. Massive pillars rose toward a ceiling that disappeared into darkness. In the center stood a giant circular structure resembling a gateway. Strange energy pulsed beneath its surface. Ancient machinery surrounded it on every side. Nova's voice emerged through their communicators. Energy readings increasing. Jace approached carefully. Any idea what this thing is? Unknown. Seraphine studied the gateway. Then her eyes widened. Jace. What? She pointed toward the base of the structure. Symbols covered the surface. The same symbols engraved on her cylinder. The same symbols displayed on the star map. That's not possible. Jace crouched beside the markings. Looks pretty possible from here. Seraphine removed the cylinder from her belt. The moment it approached the gateway, the symbols illuminated. Light spread across the ancient structure. Energy surged through the chamber. Alarms immediately erupted. Something activated, Nova warned. The gateway began glowing. Deep blue energy swirled within its center. Ancient systems that had remained dormant for thousands of years suddenly awakened. The entire station trembled. Jace stepped backward. Tell me that's normal. I have absolutely no basis for determining what is normal here. Not helping. The light intensified. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. Ancient, mechanical, powerful. It spoke in a language neither recognized, yet somehow both understood. Air recognized. Silence followed. Jace slowly turned toward Seraphine. Seraphine stared at the gateway. Did that just call me air? Before anyone could answer, another voice interrupted. Nova sounded alarmed for the first time since Jace had known her. We have a problem. Define problem. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. Jace immediately groaned. How many? Approximately 120. Seraphine's face went pale. Valen. Nova confirmed it. The fleet has located us. The realization hit immediately. Activating the gateway had exposed their location. Whatever signal the structure emitted had acted like a beacon. Across the station, lights began activating. Systems awakened. Ancient machinery roared to life. And somewhere beyond the ruins, an entire fleet was arriving. Jace looked toward the glowing gateway, then toward Seraphine, then toward the sensor data scrolling across his communicator. You know, he said, I'm starting to think touching mysterious ancient artifacts might not be one of our better ideas. Seraphine couldn't help smiling despite the danger. A little late for that. Suddenly the gateway pulsed again. The blue energy intensified. A holographic image appeared within the swirling light. A star map. Vast, complex, beautiful. Countless systems illuminated across the galaxy. Then one location began glowing brighter than all the others, deep within a region labeled only with a single symbol. Nova analyzed the coordinates instantly. Her response came quietly. I found it. Jace stared at the display. Found what? The AI paused. The next location on the path to the Crown of Solara. Outside the station, hyperspace ruptures began opening across the darkness. One after another. One after another. One after another. Prince Valen's fleet had arrived. And this time, there would be no easy escape. The first warship emerged from hyperspace directly above the ancient city. Then another. Then another. Within seconds, the darkness beyond the station filled with blue-white flashes as Prince Valen's fleet arrived in force. Massive cruisers materialized between the stars. Destroyers formed attack formations. Fighter squadrons launched from carrier bays like swarms of metallic insects. Jace stared at the sensor display. I officially missed the days when only pirates were trying to kill me. Nova processed the incoming data. Current enemy vessel count, 123. You keep saying bigger numbers and expecting me to remain calm. Seraphine never took her eyes off the viewport. Valen won't stop now. Jace glanced toward her. You're certain? She nodded. The moment he realizes the gateway is real, nothing will matter except reaching the crown first. Across the station, ancient systems continued awakening. Energy surged through forgotten machinery. Lights illuminated corridors that had remained dark for 60,000 years. The holographic star map floating above the gateway continued rotating slowly. One location pulsed brighter than every other point in the galaxy. The next clue, the next step toward the Crown of Solara, the prize everyone seemed willing to kill for. Nova interrupted their thoughts. Incoming transmission? Jace sighed. Let me guess. The image of Prince Valen appeared above the control console. Even through the hologram, he projected confidence. Royal armor covered his shoulders. His expression remained calm, controlled, dangerous. Seraphine. His voice echoed through the chamber. You've made this unnecessarily difficult. Seraphine crossed her arms. Good. For the first time, a hint of irritation appeared on Valen's face. Return willingly. We can still resolve this peacefully. Jace laughed loudly. Valen slowly turned his attention toward him. And you are? The guy currently ruining your day. Valen studied him for several seconds. Jace Orion. Jace blinked. You know me? I know everyone standing between me and my objectives. Jace didn't find that comforting. Valen looked back toward Seraphine. The crown belongs to the Empire. No, Seraphine replied. The crown belongs to history. Valen's expression hardened. History is written by those with power. The transmission ended. Silence returned. Jace shook his head. I don't like him. Neither do I. That's reassuring. Suddenly alarms erupted throughout the station. Nova's voice became urgent. Multiple boarding vessels detected. Jace immediately drew his blaster. Here we go again. Dropships descended from the fleet. Hundreds of soldiers began entering the ancient city. Their objective was obvious. Capture Seraphine, secure the gateway, claim the coordinates. Jace looked toward the glowing star map. Can we copy that information? Nova responded instantly. Already completed. See, Jace smiled. This is why you're my favorite AI. I am your only AI. Details. The station trembled violently. Somewhere nearby, explosions echoed through the ancient corridors. Enemy forces were moving fast. Too fast. We need to leave, Seraphine said. Jace nodded. Agreed. The problem was getting back to the Vagabond. Between them and the docking platform waited an army with orders to stop them at any cost. Jace considered the situation carefully. Then he smiled. Seraphine immediately groaned. Why are you smiling? Because I have another terrible idea. I was afraid of that. Jace pointed toward the gateway. What happens if we turn it off? Nova processed the question. Unknown. Could it create a distraction? Potentially catastrophic. Jace grinned. Perfect. Seraphine covered her face. One day your luck is going to run out. Probably today. Together they rushed toward the gateway controls. Ancient symbols illuminated beneath Seraphine's touch. The station responded immediately. Energy surged through the structure. The gateway began destabilizing. Blue light flashed throughout the chamber. Alarms sounded in dozens of languages. Jace didn't understand any of them, but the message seemed clear enough. Something very important was breaking. Now what? Seraphine asked. Nova answered first. Run! The gateway exploded with light. A shockwave raced through the station. Ancient machinery overloaded. Entire sections of the city lost power. Emergency systems activated everywhere at once. Enemy communications vanished beneath the chaos. Soldiers lost contact with command. Navigation systems failed. Jace grabbed Seraphine's hand. See? Great idea. You define great very differently than everyone else. They sprinted through the darkened corridors while the station descended into confusion. Around them, ancient systems activated and deactivated unpredictably. Doors opened, closed, opened again. Massive energy conduits pulsed beneath transparent floors. Several times they barely avoided sections collapsing behind them. Eventually, the docking platform appeared ahead. The Vagabond waited exactly where they had left her. Beautiful, slightly damaged, somehow still functioning. Home. I've never been happier to see that ship, Seraphine admitted. You say that now. They rushed aboard. The moment the hatch sealed, Nova activated launch procedures. Engines roared to life. The platform beneath them shook violently. Outside, enemy fighters were already approaching. We're not making this easy, are we? Jace asked. No. Good. The Vagabond launched just as weapons fire struck the docking area. Explosions illuminated the ancient city behind them. The ship accelerated away from the station at maximum speed. Moments later, Prince Valen's fleet opened pursuit. Hundreds of vessels filled the sensors once again. Yet something had changed. They now possessed the coordinates, the path forward, the next clue. They were no longer searching blindly. They were racing toward something real. Nova projected the copied star map onto the cockpit display. The highlighted destination pulsed quietly, deep beyond explored space, beyond trade routes, beyond empires, beyond civilization itself. Jace studied the coordinates. Where exactly does that lead? Nova paused, cross-referencing historical records. Several seconds passed. Then the answer appeared. Even Seraphine looked surprised. Impossible. Jace frowned. What? Nova enlarged the destination. One name appeared across the display, the Grave of Suns. Silence filled the cockpit. Jace had heard stories about the region. Every pilot had. Entire star systems supposedly existed there, with dead suns hanging frozen in darkness. Explorers vanished attempting to reach it. Expeditions disappeared without explanation. Most people considered it cursed. Wonderful, Jace said. The ancient treasure is hidden in the most horrifying place imaginable. Seraphine almost smiled. At least it won't be boring, Jace laughed. You know, for a princess, you're adapting to danger surprisingly well. Her violet eyes met his. And for a smuggler, you're surprisingly difficult to get rid of. For a brief moment, neither looked away. Neither seemed interested in doing so. Then Nova interrupted. I regret informing you that Prince Valen's fleet remains directly behind us. Jace sighed dramatically. And there goes the moment. Outside the viewport, stars stretched into brilliant lines as the vagabond entered hyperspace. Behind them, the fleet followed. Ahead of them waited dead suns, ancient secrets, and the next step toward the Crown of Solara. And somewhere within the darkness of the grave of suns, something was waiting for them.